Hello everyone, this is Daughter Darkness, and today I'm bringing you another Kingdom Hearts Top Countdown. This is something I'm going to try and do every Saturday for the next few weeks at least, a different Kingdom Hearts Top Countdown. And this one today concerns my top 7 Kingdom Hearts games. This, if anyone is really an OG subscriber, I don't think there is really many or any out there. My first ever video, which I've now deleted, was my top 5 Kingdom Hearts games. At that point I hadn't played 2 of them. I have now played those 2, and I thought it's a good time. Also, like, the ranking has changed in my eyes since I played them. Played some of the games again, and yeah, I think it's a good time for me to do this again. So this time I'm bringing you my top 7 Kingdom Hearts games. And I just have this is such a hard decision to make. I think that the way that I see it, it's clear to split the series into 2. Really, you've got like the bottom 3, I suppose, which are all good games, but they're just not quite at the same level of the top 4, which I think are my 4 favourite games of all time. But anyway, without further ado, let's get on and start with number 7. Okay, just a quick note, I forgot to say this when I first recorded, that in this list, final mixes and that sort of thing are being considered as replacing the original games, rather than being competing with them or anything. While on the point of the HD cinematics, they're considered adding to the original game. Okay, that's just a quick note. So anyway, let's go on to number 7.
Form the very source of all light in the world.
Okay, number 7, I think this is sort of the worst in the series by a fair distance. It's not a bad game at all, but I think I just don't, like, I just couldn't kind of warm to it the way that I have done with all the other Kingdom Hearts games, and that is Kingdom Hearts Rechained of Memories. And I think there are a few reasons for this. I think story-wise it's very strong, it's got a good story, and a character-based story, which a few of the Kingdom Hearts games have. Really, the card-based battle system is the main reason that I found it hard to warm to. I like the kind of like fairly free action gameplay that most of the Kingdom Hearts games have, and this didn't have that because all your attacks were tied to cards. But, you know, even other than that, all of the worlds were pretty much the same. It was pretty much just the same world with a different skin, done 26 times, but then also you have to fight sort of the same bosses a lot of times, even when these are kind of difficult bosses, so you end up getting stuck on the same boss 6 times, for example, with Riku Replica. And yeah, just generally I think the gameplay and how everything worked in the game, it just meant that I don't really feel about it the same way I do about the rest of the games. Don't get me wrong, it's still a good game, but it gets onto my list at number 7. And in number 6 we have a game which runs parallel to Chain of Memories and takes place between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, as Chain of Memories does. And this is 358 Days over 2. I think really it's similar to Chain of Memories, and it's got a very good like character-based story. It's all about Roxas, Axel and Xion. It is one of the saddest games in the series. The story is top-notch, but like Chain of Memories, gameplay is where it's let down. However, I think it's a bit better than Chain of Memories. It sticks to the Kingdom Hearts formula with the command menu, the attack, magic and items like being your options, but it just doesn't feel quite as good, quite as fluid as the others. And, you know, I sort of suppose on the same level as Chain of Memories, you get a lot of really annoying boss fights, some that you have to fight multiple times. In particular, the Emerald Serenade you have to fight 3 or 4 times, I think, and yeah, that's the most annoying thing on earth. But it's still, again, a great game. but it's got lots of flaws, and for those reasons it gets onto my list at number 6.
Promise me, nominee.
In number 5 we get the last of the bottom 3 Kingdom Hearts games, I suppose, and the top one of those in my opinion, which is one which has come under a lot of criticism from both fans of the series and kind of casual people who just like to play them sometimes. And this is Kingdom Hearts Recoded. I can't say anything about the original mobile version because I'm not Japanese, but the DS version I played and I had a lot of fun with. I like the battle system with the command deck. I thought it worked well here, and I liked the way that they kind of mixed up the gameplay a bit sometimes. Like there was the 2D side-scroller platformer type one. There was like a rail shooter one which I enjoyed a lot. There was the turn-based one which I didn't enjoy so much. But either way, I think that it's a very good game. But on the level of the other games, the story isn't quite so good. It's not a bad story, I don't think it is a sad story, certainly. And with the 2.5 movie and the few extra secret clips from that, it is going to be important in Kingdom Hearts 3, the stuff that happened in Recoded. But yeah, it's a fun game, but perhaps not quite to the quality of the top 4, and for that reason it gets onto my list at number 5. And now we're into the big 4, the top 4 games in the Kingdom Hearts series, and my top 4 games of all time, most probably. I thought it was always going to be harsh, the one that I picked for number 4, because all of these are amazing games, and I have a great kind of passion for them, and I love them all, but it's not easy for me to put it down here. But in 4th place is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. This, I know, is a lot of people's favourites, and I can see why. It's got a great story, the gameplay, it kind of changed things well, but not too much, and it was a very fun game to play, but for some reason, I don't have that quite caring for it that I'd put it right at the top of my list, for example. I think that the way that the 3 stories worked, I didn't really like that, especially that you're kind of playing through from start to finish with one person, then from start to finish with another, and you already know kind of what's going to happen at parts in the end, and then you get to the final battle and you have to do the final battle 3 times, and then you have to fight random bosses, the same bosses 3 times, and that kind of annoyed me a bit. But nevertheless, it's an incredible game, and story-wise, it introduced so much to the Kingdom Hearts series. The 3 Keyblade wielders, Terra, Ventus, and Aqua, are probably going to be returning in Kingdom Hearts 3. Master Xehanort is the main villain of Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, it's a very important game for the story, and I do love the game. I've only played it once, but for some reason it didn't quite click with me the same as the other 3 did, although I still had a lot of fun playing the game. But anyway, for that reason, it gets onto my list at number 4.
It is futile. The Keyblade alone cannot seal the door to darkness.
In number 3, we have the one which started it all, the flawed masterpiece I like to think of it as, which is Kingdom Hearts, or Kingdom Hearts 1. This has a lot of flaws. The battle system can be kind of clunky at times. The story, I think, is good, but not as good as some of the others in the series. The gummy ship missions in particular are a pain. The world selection isn't brilliant. It's not terrible, but other games have better world selections. And there are so many things working against this game, and somehow there's something about it. Can't quite put my finger on what it is, but there's something special about this game. Without this game, of course, I wouldn't have played any of the games in the series. Because I loved the first game so much, that was the reason I wanted to get the second, and because I loved those 2, and that's why my interest in the series begun with Kingdom Hearts 1. So there is something special about it in that respect. It is very flawed, but it's still an amazing game. If I'd made this list 2 or 3 years ago, this would have topped it. But when I've kind of looked back on them now, I've realised that there are a lot of flaws. Particularly my friend has noticed that he's playing it for the first time, like, now. I didn't really notice the flaws so much when I was younger, but he is. And yeah, because it is a flawed masterpiece, but there is something special about it. Kingdom Hearts 1 gets onto my list at number 3. In number 2 we go to the most recent Kingdom Hearts game, or the most recent Kingdom Hearts game that's been released overseas from Japan at the very least. This is Dream Drop Distance on the 3DS. This is really the one which made me sort of come back to being a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. I've always been a massive fan of them. A new Kingdom Hearts game would always be something that excited me. But after I played the first 2 games, then there was 358 Days Over 2, which wasn't quite as good, and I'd assumed that all of the side titles, I suppose, were like that and weren't anywhere near as good as the first 2 games. And for that reason, I didn't get Recoded. I didn't ever get Chain of Memories. I didn't get Birth by Sleep. But then, I had a 3DS and I didn't have that many games for it. And then I saw Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance coming out for the 3DS. So I thought, oh yeah, why not? I love Kingdom Hearts. Let's see if this game's any good. And I played it, and it just brought back everything that I loved about Kingdom Hearts, and it reminded me why I loved the series so much. And I've always been a fan of Kingdom Hearts, but I think that this is the one which really made me start being a big fan again. And then, it prompted me to want to get Recoded. It made me want to get Chain of Memories on 1.5 and Birth by Sleep on 2.5, and it's just like the thing which brought all of those feels back that I had from my childhood and experiences with Kingdom Hearts, and it will have a special place for me on that point of view. But if we look at the game itself, it's got the action elements are just as good as in any of the other games. The combat is nice. I think it's got the command system, and I think it does it better than Birth by Sleep, as well as the addition of flow motion, which is really fun, and it can help you out of a few tough scrapes. It does have difficulty there as well, particularly the last few bosses of Riku's story are very difficult, and from the point of view of that, like Birth by Sleep, it has multiple stories, but I think the drop system I prefer to Birth by Sleep's sort of 3 separate stories that you go through one after the other. I think I prefer the way that you kind of go through both at the same time, even if the drop system was flawed in that, you might miss out when you're just about to kill a boss fight, then you drop and then you have to start it all over again. That's one problem with it, but other than that, it's a really good game. I kind of liked the way that you got your abilities from Dream Eaters. A lot of people didn't like that so much, but I did, and obviously it sets up Kingdom Hearts 3. A lot of things that we think about when we think about Kingdom Hearts 3 coming from Dream Drop Distance. I think story-wise it's excellent, gameplay-wise it's excellent, and it gets onto my list at number 2.
Who are you?
And then now we come to number 1. I will say that on most top countdowns I'll do like an honourable mentions type thing, but not on this one because it's a top 7 and there are 7 games, not counting Key because I can't play that. And number 1, Kingdom Hearts 2. I think most people expected it. This is quite a popular choice. I think it is probably the most popular Kingdom Hearts games among fans. I think it took everything that was great about the first game and it improved on it in so many ways. I think the way that there's something like quite intangible that when you're playing it you can get kind of a feel, and I definitely have that at its strongest in Kingdom Hearts 2. Like just the feel of playing, it just felt kind of really good. And this is obviously the game which Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be basing its combat mainly on. It introduced so many elements though, like reaction commands, drive forms, all of these things were incredible additions to the Kingdom Hearts series, and this just added so much to Kingdom Hearts, story-wise and gameplay-wise. In every way it improved on its predecessor, and it hasn't been improved on since, in my opinion. There isn't really too much to say here, except I suppose that Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is even better because there's so much added in. So many cutscenes that let you see like a couple of organization members in a different light. You see a bit more of what they are like, and yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix just makes the best game of all time even better. And for those reasons, there isn't anything more to say, and it gets onto my list at number 1. So that's it, my top 7 Kingdom Hearts games of all time. Which one is your favourite? Please say in the comment section below, and while you're down there, please like this video if you did, and if you liked it, then check out my other videos and subscribe to this channel. And as always, thank you for watching.